Alabama site. It's Monday Night Quarterback. I'm Mick Gillespie. Great to have you guys with us tonight. We're going to recap Alabama's 38-19 win over Missouri. The Crimson Tide now 1-0. Got a great cast with us to talk this football game tonight. And really, we're going to look around the SEC and also preview Alabama against Texas A&M, their first home game in front of 25% capacity. But Trey Yanni's here. Good to see you, buddy.
Good to see you as well.
Tyler Waltrip's here. What's up, man?
Hey, good to see you, Mick.
Tony Sukos is here too. Tony, I know you're ready to go.
Yeah.
You're the only guy that was at the game.
Yeah. It was a weird experience, man. It was like, going crowd-wise, it was like a not great high school football championship, But we had football and it was there. It was weird, Mizzou's got their little lawn, and even that was kind of divvied out. It looked like a little advent calendar with little white squares where people were supposed to sit. So it was wild. We got some football in.
Well, people ask me, what's the tailgate scene going to be like in Tuscaloosa? I mean, I don't know, but it didn't seem like there was a tailgate scene at all.
No, I get to the games pretty early. So, I mean, unless something happened, after I got in, it was non-existent. There was nobody there. I don't think people are not allowed to tailgate. I don't think so. Really, I mean, there was a dude. I was told that he's like the world Guinness record for hacky sacking, and that's who was there. Other than that, man, there was nobody. So the shirtless dude that apparently is really good at hacky sacking. Also likes the Missouri Tigers, and that was the extent of the tailgating I saw.
Man, COVID in 2020, what a terrible year. I mean, we're like stuck with hacky sackers.
Yeah, pretty much.
Which I remember playing hacky sack in high school. I mean, going way back, but I mean, I haven't seen a hacky sack in years. Maybe like one of those Dead and Company shows.
It's done well. Hacky sack's a very COVID-friendly sport because it involves only feet. So I just guess you got to be good at it, and it might be the new sport of COVID.
Right, when you can like kick it off the top of your shoulder, your head, and then the back of your heel, and it never touches the ground. I mean, that's skill, right?
Yeah.
All right, let's talk to Tyler. What do you think of the game, man? We're going to go around the horn here, but 38-19, and I'm going to interject this before you start talking, Tyler. That score is bogus. I mean, the game wasn't even close.
Game wasn't close. I should have trusted my gut. I didn't expect Alabama to cover the 27, 28 points. I listened to you and Kyle. Y'all got in my head the days before. Oh, Alabama's going to write the score. And Alabama probably had the talent to do that, but I should have trusted my gut and not gone with the cover there because that's just the way Nick rolls. But, that's what we got. I mean, it looks like it's a competitive game, but we all know it wasn't.
Well, here's the thing, too, before I bring Trey in. If you're Alabama or you're any of these other good teams in the SEC, you don't have all of the cupcakes now to bring in the freshmen and the sophomores and the guys that don't get to play a lot. So I guess that when you have a blowout situation, this is what it's going to look like, where you're going to kind of bring in all those guys really early, including Bryce Young. I mean, that's the guy we all wanted to see, right? And he got a chance to get in the game.
Yeah, and, with Bryce Young, I think there was mixed opinions, but you got to keep in mind, like you said, this is his first chance to play. There were no, Citadels this year, Southern misses, no gimme games. He really had to, get in there and earn it. And the fumble is obviously can't happen in games moving forward. But he was 5 for 8, went it for 54 yards, ball was crisp out of the hand. I think there's a lot of positives to take away. I will say, Tyler, I'm with you, man. These guys are persuasive. I was thinking maybe, I think my score prediction was a little bit lower than you guys, maybe like 35, 33 or something like that. But, they started talking, and I thought maybe this thing's going to get out of hand, and it did. And I think we got, to see exactly what we wanted in the first half. Great defense, great offense. Some MVPs going to highlight here in a little bit. But overall, a great day. And like we were talking about on Saturday, they won. That's all that matters at the end of the day.
Yeah, I mean, that's it, right? You want to get the W, but, Tony, you were there. I felt like the score didn't really it didn't reflect the game I saw. I saw Alabama basically go in there and boot stomp Missouri, and then I look at the score at the end of the game, and I'm like, okay, I didn't see a 38-19 game. You were there.
Yeah, I mean, it was 35-3 at one time. I mean, it definitely seemed like, Alabama was in control. And look, there was every bit from an Alabama perspective. You got everything you wanted to see, right? So you got Mac Jones performed well, gains that confidence as a starting quarterback. Najee Harris had 3 touchdowns, 98 yards. Doesn't even seem like we're talking about him enough, despite that performance. And then, you got guys like Jalen Waddle. I think Jalen Waddle is going to be the best player on this team. He really showed that. The defense was better. I really think the Dylan Moses Christian Harris combination is going to be deadly in the middle. So yeah, there's until the backups came in, everything was rolling for Alabama. I don't really think this is a cause for concern. I think it's one of these things where there was a weird offseason, so maybe the depth, the people that haven't played, that's something that Saban talked about as well before. The people with less experience suffered more this offseason. So I think maybe you might see that. You might see Alabama pull ahead, then try to get its depth some experience, and then you might see some muddled score lines. But until Alabama plays a better competition, I'm expecting a lot more of these type of games.
Well, they're going to play Texas A&M on Saturday. They're ranked, 10th, or at least they were.
13th, I think. But
okay, they slid down. Well, they struggled against Vanderbilt. We're going to get into the SEC. We're also going to give out game balls. So, I mean, I know let's kind of get into this game a little bit without previewing yet who we think was the key player of this game. I mean, because I've got a handful of guys – Tyler, that I could give the ball to. If I'm in the locker room, there's 5 guys I can think of right off the top of my head that deserve a game ball for their performance.
So I just want to, real quick, I want to, go back and forth with Tony because we had this debate all offseason. I argued all offseason. I thought Najee Harris was going to get this huge workload. The other running backs weren't going to see the ball. Tony, what were you thinking? Were you hearing my voice in your head in the third quarter? Tyler was right.
Yeah, it certainly seems like you won this battle, at least in terms of the distribution of the backs. That was the one thing I think I was surprised about. I really thought we were going to see something, I thought we were going to see more from Brian Robinson. I definitely thought, I'm a big Trey Sanders guy, and he really failed to impress. But some of that, I'd like to hear what you guys think about Trey Sanders because, yeah, he looked slow to the hole sometimes, but he didn't have a lot of space to operate. And I think that can't really just be pinned all on Trey Sanders. I think he had a poor game, but I think it's not abandon all hope on him.
No, it kind of reminded me. I was thinking about this because we talked about it a little bit Saturday. Reminded me of Glenn Coffey. He was a running back at Alabama. Kind of got off to a really slow start like that, and you didn't feel like he hit the holes as hard as he could have. And then going through the games, eventually you start to figure it out. I think Trey Sanders is going to be fine, but I mean he hasn't played in a long time in a game. There were certainly holes there. I mean Najee Harris proved that.
Yeah, and look at the critique we had of Najee Harris. I mean, a couple of years ago, we were saying the same things about Najee Harris. He dances too much behind the line of scrimmage. He's never going to hit the hole, and now he's kind of progressed. So give it time, give it patience, and I think, we're going to see some time. I think Tyler was right week 1. I think maybe week 8, let's revisit this discussion.
Tony, were you able to see anything just since you were there? Were you able to really glean anything? I know you didn't get the chance to talk to Trey, but able to kind of tell anything about it? Do you think that was just he needed to gain some confidence in his first game back? I mean, that's a tough injury to come back from. I don't know if you could see anything on the sidelines or in the pregame warmups that would kind of enlighten us there.
No, there was nothing wrong with him. He wasn't favoring anything. I mean, he was there. He was himself. I think it's just a case of Mick brought it up. I mean, it's his first game back in a while, and we just talked about how the inexperienced players are going to suffer a little bit. And he's an inexperienced player. He might be a redshirt freshman, but this was his first time suiting up in a competitive environment with Alabama that we've seen. I mean, I know he's had a couple scrimmages, but other than those scrimmages, he's pretty much just like freshman, like all the rest of them.
Yeah, right. Plus, you get to go back now, look at the film, and kind of start talking about with coaching, like, hey, look, here's what we're looking at. Here's what you're supposed to do. Here's what you did, and have like a visual to go along with the experience of being in the game. My question for you, Tony, is the injuries. Did you hear about any injuries? Because I don't remember after the game hearing of anyone being hurt.
Well, Evan Neal left for a while, but he came back. He seems like he's okay. I saw him moving really well on the sidelines. When Alabama's they put in Kendall Randolph at right tackle, and it was definitely a drop off. But there was no injury report after the game, and it doesn't look like anybody's hurt. I don't think Alabama's missing anyone, so that's big. It did kind of make you realize how important these two tackles are for Alabama, because I don't think there's anybody quite like Evan Neal and Alex Leatherwood on the team if one of those two were to go down.
Right. Well, the big thing last year at this point was, half the team was injured. I mean, it felt like that. Every time you turn around, someone's hurt from practice and then the games. And, there was just a total revamp of the entire strength program in the offseason. So, I mean, that's just something that we're focused on, right? Just seeing how these guys are going to perform, how healthy they're going to be. And, when you have one guy that left, I mean, who knows what was wrong? It could have been a stinger, maybe a bruise or something. The guy's back in. We're not stopping action. Guys aren't getting carted off the field. That's a really good sign.
Yeah, and I don't know about you guys, but it seemed like the defense was faster. It seemed like the overall team seemed to be pretty quick on the field. I think it's really fun to see the combination of Christian Harris, Dylan Moses, and Will Anderson all on the field at the same time, because I think that's just a deadly combination. And all those guys are fast. I think the secondary probably needs a little bit of help, but even that, I think I'm pretty optimistic about, especially this defense.
Yeah, well, and that's it, Trey. I mean, if you're getting pressure on the quarterback, that's going to help the secondary that's got guys that are trying to learn their positions.
Definitely, yeah. And I think, you said it best, Tony. They were quicker. They were just faster off the jump. And how many times did we see on Saturday, open field, maybe space for some guy that the gap was just closed immediately? And I think having Dylan Moses, we heard Christian Harris talk about it today, is just so comforting for this defense to have that anchor, to have somebody to rely on. The defense is proving that they are back to that elite standard. There's obviously a lot of negative conversation around that group this offseason and last season, of course, but Pete Golding knows what's on the line, and he knows that Bama has to get this defense back to an elite standard, or Bama's not going to win at the level that they are used to. Dylan Moses makes all the difference in the world, but Christian Harris, I think, is one guy that we've been talking about all weekend, but have to continue to talk about how much better is he from last season. And he was great, but making that extra leap, he looked faster than anybody. It seemed like he was in on every play. Wouldn't you say, Tyler?
Yeah, I mean, I thought, just in terms of both Dylan Moses, Christian Harris, I'm trying to hold back. I don't want to give away my MVP for the defense yet, but I thought they both played incredible. I thought you could see game ball. I thought Dylan Moses made everyone else on the defense look more comfortable, and I think you just immediately noticed that this is a different defense with him at the core. And man, Christian Harris, I mean, I mentioned it, I think in my piece that I wrote today, but I mean, Christian Harris had 2 tackles in the first 3 plays. I mean, one of them was a huge sack. If you want to start off the season, on a different note defensively, that's how you do it right there.
And Christian Harris, touching back on that point, Christian Harris brought up today when talking to reporters that the defense, he is more confident and the defense is more confident when Dylan's on the field. That confidence boost is not, you can't understate that. I mean, that is a big part of this. Just having Dylan Moses there, take away his 5-star talent and his ability to get to the ball and whatever, just his presence on the field is huge. He is the safety net. Yeah.
Look, I think it's time to give out game balls. I mean, we're kind of moving in that direction right now. But, I mean, remember, Dylan Moses was projected to be the first defensive player drafted last year, right? I mean, at least in some of the sites that put that stuff out, and then he didn't play. I think Alabama makes the college football playoff if he doesn't get hurt. And I think they beat LSU. Look, I'm an Alabama guy, but I watched the game too. And that was just that one spot that Alabama really just couldn't replace last year. And that's what makes him so special. But let's just go around the horn. We'll start with Tyler. Let's give out those game balls.
Okay, so we're going what? 1 offense, 1 defense? That's how we're doing it?
Sure, let's do it.
Okay, so, I'll go ahead and, I wrote this up in our instant reaction on the site, and I think you got to go with Anderson on the defense. I mean, I think you can make an argument for several guys. We mentioned Harris, we mentioned Moses, but I mean, Anderson was always kind of in the picture. Maybe he wasn't in the play, but he pressured the quarterback into a sack or into, a bad throw, or he drove the ball carrier into another guy. Like Will Anderson was always there, and then he obviously comes up with that great sequence. I think around the middle of the third quarter where he gets 2 or 3 tackles and on 4 or 5 plays, and so I think he's the guy for me. I'm surprised at how much pressure he got, and I'll keep it short with offense, but I think you got to go with Jalen Waddle. That big catch over the middle where he takes contact and goes to the ground. I think that kind of sealed it for me with him, and that was pretty early on.
Where did he play last year, Anderson?
Not at the college level.
That's right. It's crazy, right? This is guy's first game. All right, Trey.
Yeah, insane. Will Anderson, I mean, we heard it was one of Kyle's nuggets throughout the week, but he shows up on Saturday, and I talked about it just a minute ago, but Christian Harris, this guy was everywhere. I'll keep it short on defense just because, there's not much to be said. He was in on pretty much every play, making his tackles, looked fast, aggressive, everything you want out of Christian Harris. He's number one. Offensively, I'm going to go Mac Jones. I got to admit, this offseason, I was a little bit of, not a Mac Jones hater, but maybe just in favor of Young getting the job right out of the gate. But Jones was so accurate. I don't think anybody expected to see him placing some of the balls that he placed, especially that touchdown right over Jalen Waddle's shoulder. Just unbelievable accuracy on Saturday from Mac Jones. And, he was just zinging it as well. Looked great.
Tony. All right, well, I'll go. And then, all right, you got me?
Yeah, I got you.
Okay, go ahead. Yeah, yours.
Oh, yeah, sure.
Floor's yours, buddy.
For me, I think I gave my offensive game ball to – actually, I'm going to give it to Mac Jones. I think he had a lot of pressure coming into this game. I think it'd be easy to give it to a guy like Waddle or Najee, but when you look at the job Mac did, I really thought, he's a guy that needed to do well. He did well. Trey mentioned the throws he made. I mean, both those 2 touchdown passes were great. The over the top to Waddle was an absolute dime, and then he had a defender coming on him on the slant to Waddle for that first score. So I was really impressed with him. I've been a big Mac Jones guy this whole time, so I'm going to stick with it. I liked what I saw from him on the defensive side of the ball. I think I'm going to go with Christian Harris. I don't have the numbers right in front of me, but I think something like 6 tackles, 2 for a loss. He made an impact early. I think he's a totally different player alongside Dylan Moses. And so, I think Alabama obviously agrees with me too, because those 2 guys are both on the coaches, the coaches team of the week. But I was really impressed by those 2 guys. I think that there's a couple of other guys I could have mentioned. I know Dylan Moses it was probably worth a shout. And then, like Tyler said, I was really impressed with Will Anderson, but I'm going to go Mac Jones and I'm going to go Christian Harris.
Yeah, I guess it's my turn. And I mean, those are hard to beat right there. The only reason I'm not giving it to Harris is because it was great to see Dylan Moses back. I mean, just the leadership, the confidence. And I mean, even when I do my offensive pick, you're going to see the one thing I wanted to know going into this game and after was, what's this Alabama team's identity going to be? Where's the leadership going to come from? I felt like last year on defense, I never really felt like they had kind of that identity. They gave up a lot of points against certain teams. You felt like the linebackers weren't strong and made a lot of mistakes. And they got, just for Alabama defenses, they got boat raced a bunch of times, and I mean, you're talking about a team that still had a good year, but they didn't reach their potential because he wasn't in there, and all that work to get back and then not going in the NFL, coming back in, being there. Christian Harris was awesome. I mean, he's blowing through guys, but I really felt like that it was just having Dylan Moses back there, calling out the plays, doing his thing, kind of giving everyone that confidence that, look, man, I know exactly what's going on. I'm going to get you where you need to go. You guys go out and get the ball carrier. You rush the quarterback, and we got this. It felt like Alabama defense in the first half of that football game. That's what I'm used to, right? And then I haven't been a Mac Jones guy. I mean, I would be honest with you. When Talia transferred, I was very disappointed. I broadcasted a game where I watched Talia just tear apart Tuscaloosa County High in a game. They scored 59 points in a first half of a high school game. Talia's he looked like Tua. He's like going backwards and throwing balls, threading the needle. And I'm thinking like eventually he's going to get a shot at Alabama, but he obviously wasn't confident in that and he left. And so, Mac-10, it's his job. I felt like last year in that Auburn game, the Tennessee game, and some other points where I was like, I don't know about the leadership here. Is this guy going to really be able to step up and lead this Alabama program? And on top of that, too, man, that is a prestigious job in this offense. And he's not a dual threat guy. I just kind of feel like when you look at around college football at Ohio State and the teams that win, last year, we talk about Burrow's ability to pass the ball, but he ran too sometimes, and Trevor Lawrence, even though he looks like Forrest Gump, he runs and people don't touch him. I mean, like, it's crazy. It's like watching Forrest Gump run against Tennessee, like no one can catch him. You got to have that, I feel like, to win these days. But what I didn't see from him last year, I saw it in the first half of that football game. The leadership was there. It was his team. He had everyone under control. When he stepped up in the pocket and just dropped those balls in for Waddle, and Smitty and the Menchie caught some passes. Like, I'm like, okay, you know what? This dude's bigger. He's stronger. He's a year older. And then when I saw Bryce Young, who's got to eat more, he's got to put on some weight. He needs some man strength. I saw the all the talent, right? But I also saw the inexperience when he's running backwards and stuff. And I'm going, okay, he's got a little ways to go. Right now, this is Mac's team, and I couldn't have been more impressed by his ability. So he gets a game ball. Moses gets a game ball. And I really felt like Alabama did a ton more good than bad in this game.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Mick, to your point about Mac in the pocket, our friends at Pro Football Focus, I was able to take this from them. And Mac currently, it's only 2 games or 2 weeks for some people, 1 week for him, but he ranks number 9 in the nation when he takes more than 2.5 seconds to get rid of the ball. So on those plays that are a little bit extended, he's doing really well. He's got a 136.4 NFL passer rating. So he's doing well with those plays where he has to read things in the pocket. That's really good to see from a quarterback. And, I think that's the kind of veteran experience that's really going to help Alabama.
Yeah, I agree, man. I think all you guys could jump in, but that's when Tua went down last year, it was like a spiral, man. Like it just didn't feel like the same team, and I don't feel like this team's built so strongly on one particular player too.
Mm-hmm.
You can just tell by where the ball was distributed.
Yeah, and I just think the amount of tools and the depth that you have on this offense is so key because you have 3 running backs, like Tyler was saying, that you can go to at most of the time. Maybe Sanders needs a few weeks to get used to it, and I think that offensive line needs to open up for him a little bit as well. But, I just think the depth on this offense and the amount of tools, and at times you can almost use Devontae Smith as a decoy because of how talented Jalen Waddle also is. That's a wide receiver 1 at pretty much every single school in the SEC. If you don't have Devontae Smith on your team. But, Mac, for a while, I think just didn't have the amount of game experience and, wasn't necessarily used to this offense. And it was a big contrast last year. We were used to seeing Tua Tagovailoa throw passes to Jerry Jeudy and Henry Ruggs and Jalen Waddle and Devontae. And then we see Mac Jones get in there, a much different style of play. And, things were different. And this offense struggled for a minute, but they're back. They're better than ever now. Like I said, Mac put on, I think 15, 20 pounds of muscle this offseason. He's looking better than ever. And like Coach Saban said after the game on Saturday, Bryce Young is the backup quarterback. It's going to take a few weeks. It's going to take some time for him to keep getting reps and keep getting better. Saturday is a small sample size. It's tough to take, into consideration. Yeah, that would bring the salt there. But overall, I think so many positives to take away. And like you mentioned at the top of the show, I think that score is super deceiving. Especially with the last touchdown there coming with, I think, 1-2 seconds left on the clock.
Yeah. Well, remember the backup quarterback's always the most, popular guy on campus. But right now it's Mac's team. All right, so Alabama's 1-0 guys in the SEC. Let's talk about the other games in the conference. And, I'm just going to kind of go through them and jump in and say stuff. I watched this one for the first half. Georgia 37-10 over Arkansas, but it wasn't easy. They struggled in the first half of that football game.
Yeah, it's like, what would you rather? If you look from an Alabama perspective, right? Alabama blew out Missouri, then kind of let it be ugly. And then on the flip side, Georgia took a long time to blow out Arkansas. I mean, this is an Arkansas team that hasn't won an SEC game since the beginning of time, and this is a Georgia team that a lot of people that are going to compete for the SEC title. So I was really shocked to see Georgia struggle with Arkansas. I think Arkansas is supposed to be the biggest pushover in this conference, and maybe it can be chalked up to rust or a weird offseason, but that was surprising for me.
Yeah, just the pace, and Kirby Smart doesn't have a Jake Fromm this year necessarily, but that running back group is still talented, and seeing them struggle early in that game was just weird because, like you said, Tony, I don't think Arkansas has even competed in an SEC game, in recent memory. So, slow start. You got to keep in mind a COVID-ridden offseason. Things are a lot different right now, and that's Georgia's first chance to get on the field. But, if the season were to end right now, I think this is Alabama's SEC to lose at this point.
What about you, Tyler?
I mean, yeah, not much else to say. I think I was shocked when I saw the, Arkansas take a lead on Georgia. You could give Arkansas the ball. Before that game happened, I would have said you could give Arkansas the ball first at Georgia's 20, and I wouldn't have expected Arkansas to take a lead in that game. So, I mean, I was shocked. The final score is, about what I expected. Maybe it's a little closer. I probably would have, predicted Georgia to really blow them out by more. But, I think that's, you're kind of seeing what happens with, Newman opting out late in Georgia's camp. And I think maybe Georgia's offense has to recalibrate now. And I think I saw reports today that maybe Daniels might be available for the next game. I'm not sure if he's going to be the starter. But I think this Georgia team is going to look a lot different when it faces Alabama than it did in week 1. So I wouldn't necessarily write Georgia off at this point.
Right. Well, remember, they lost their whole offensive line, too, not only their quarterback. All right. It was Florida 51, Lane Kiffin and his Ole Miss Rebels 35. Kind of a track meet, but I never really felt like Florida was in danger. As a matter of fact, I think Florida's a pretty good team right now, Tony.
Yeah. What do you guys think about this Kyle Trask kind of Heisman hype that's going on? I don't know. I don't know. He certainly looked good. He's going to be a name that's going to be, thrown about in coming weeks.
Yeah, I like that. I think that Ole Miss defense is still needs a lot of improvement. But you know what? Why not? We're making some campaign for Najee here pretty early on. I think Kyle and I are actually going to start a campaign for Jalen Waddle as well, if it hasn't already been started. But yeah, why not Kyle Trask? It's crazy to think a year ago right now he was sitting as a second string and it looked like that could be the case for a while. But good for the Gators. I think you got to get some respect to Ole Miss too, though. This is a new team, new head coach, and they're looking a little better than I thought.
All right, Auburn 29, Kentucky 13, and look, Kentucky had a chance in this game. I mean, there was a character on the show that came on back in the 60s called Andy Griffith. You guys know that show? You ever heard of that one before?
Yeah, I
you remember that one? There was a character named Barney Fife, and they're like the Barney Fife of the SEC. Like, they just shoot themselves in the foot. Like, Auburn, they could call it luck or whatever, because I know Auburn just seems like they always have their horseshoe somewhere. But Kentucky could have won this football game. They just gave it away, in my opinion.
Yeah, I mean, I think the play that everyone is going to remember from this game is going to be obviously that targeting call that gives Kentucky a chance to even compete in the second half. But I mean, I remember actually I got up right after I saw the Auburn guy run it back, and then I come back and I'm like, wait a second, hold on, what happened to the score? So I mean, Kentucky at times looked more competitive than I would have expected, but honestly, it's hard to say if that's because maybe Auburn started off slower or not. I thought, I don't know. I thought both teams will probably end up being really good down the road, though.
Nothing worse than that Auburn fight song. Well, I take that back. There is something worse, Ed Orgeron. But 44-34, right? Mississippi
Mhm.
State beats the defending national champs to open the season up. I mean, LSU's not a top 10 team this year. I mean, they lost all but like 5 guys off of their team, but they were still getting that respect. And Mississippi State's totally revamped, different thing. Castillo throws for over 600 yards. And I mean, I guess this is the biggest upset in the conference.
I was surprised that Mike Leach's offense just worked as good as it did from the start. I mean, it was effortless. It was like, when you have those kind of offenses, you like to think that, that's not going to work in the SEC. Well, it did, and it worked really well. I think there is a lot of problems with this LSU team. I don't necessarily think you want to start calling, Mississippi State a national title contender after this one, but man, I'm excited to see this Mike Leach offense and how it works.
Well, they never had anybody that could tackle. Mississippi State's always got a little defense.
A little bit of a defense now, Mike Leach. I mean, this is just, like you said, it's just been implemented perfectly. It's so fun to see Mike Leach succeed early on in the SEC. The hype is there. The search committee has been great this weekend. How about Tyrell Taylor, former Bama guy, scoring the first TD of the year for Mississippi State? But, this could be just as much about LSU as it was Mississippi State. This is not a very powerful LSU offense. Obviously, losing just about everybody. They're going to struggle this year, and I think Mississippi State's going to pull a few more upsets at some point, and maybe they'll stop being upsets at a certain point. But still, I think you got to take the sample size as a grain of, with a grain of salt, and just kind of see how this team reacts forward. Because with a team like that scores a lot of points, struggles, anything can happen. But great start for the Bulldogs.
Did you guys see that video? I'm sorry to cut you off there. But just hold on.
No.
Did you see that video where Ed Orgeron's I think it was on 60 Minutes, but they played it, part of it during the game, and he's like, he's doing all the stuff. It's like a normal day for him. And, you can't tell what he's saying, and then he's running with his shirt off. I'm like, put your shirt back on, man. Like, you're killing me right now. Like, if I'm a recruit and I see that, that's when I'm like, all right, man, I'll see you when we play in November.
Yeah.
On Alabama, like I was so.
I don't know. There's something about Coach O I like. He's zany, man. He's like, you need guys like that. You need guys like that. It'd be boring if everyone. I like having him. I like having Leach and his whole pirate thing, and then of course you got the Lane train. I love the characters we've got especially in the SEC West, right? I don't know. I'm for it. I'm for shirtless, weird, grumble Coach O. I like it. Go Tigers.
I can't unsee that now.
Can we just clip that part where Tony just says, "I'm for shirtless Coach O," and play that going?
I think that would be a good meme.
Yeah, I mean, so I honestly, it's hard for me to focus on my thoughts on that game now after you and Tony get going about Coach O. It's funny, you talk about how you would be out as a recruit, but that's the kind of his deal. Like, something about it resonates with these kids. Maybe it's authentic, or at least it comes across that way, because I think if you look at why LSU brought him in, that's got to be top 2, if not the top reason that you hire a guy like that.
I mean, he's so Louisiana, man. He's so that area. I mean, look at the accent and stuff. I think, they look at that and they rallied behind it. I mean, he's very much like a king of his people. You know what I'm saying? So I'm with Tyler. I think it probably
it's the North.
Help him recruit pretty well. In my turn, in my opinion.
He's a meathead. Like, he's like those guys you're in the gym and they're doing all that stuff where they like kind of whistle when they're putting up the next set. This is what happens when those guys get older. Like,
yeah. I mean,
keep the shirt on, man.
We're not expecting these guys to be the brightest. Jeremy Pruitt doesn't even know what asparagus is. So, let's give these guys a break here.
All right. Well, that brings me to Jeremy Pruitt. Like, I watched this one. Tennessee 31, South Carolina 27. And guys, I thought that this was a really big game for both of these teams, because when you set your schedule at the beginning of the year, you get your schedule. You go through and you say, all right, this is a W and this is an L, right? We all do that. And both of those teams felt like that was a W. South Carolina has owned Tennessee until last year. And Tennessee's like trying to get back off the mat, and they actually beat South Carolina last year. They showed a lot of moxie after having a very bad start to the season, and they wanted to get off with a win. It was a close game, and Tennessee won the football game. And you can see, these are the games that we picked last week, and I'll just tell you on the tailgate show, I got all of mine right except Alabama. And what is amazing to me is that Las Vegas said it was 3.5 points. I took Tennessee. They won by 4. I don't know how they do that, but
Vegas is amazing.
As far as like Tennessee goes, I felt like this was a very, very big win for them, Tony.
Yeah, I think it is. I think, Tennessee's trying to make some noise in the East, and they've got to show progress under Jeremy Pruitt. I think there's a lot of believers in Jeremy Pruitt, but it's kind of the patience runs really thin in the SEC. So it's kind of put up or shut up. So for him to get this is a big deal.
Yeah, I think this is a lot about Tennessee. You got to look at that South Carolina team too. Brand new quarterback making his first start, a transfer from Colorado there, and like you said, this is a game they really needed to win. If you look at their schedule coming up, 4 out of the next 5 are at number 3 Florida, home against number 7 Auburn, at number 20 LSU, and home against number 13 Texas A&M. This was a game that South Carolina really, really needed to win just to get a W on the board, because with the way the schedule works out this year, this is a team that might not win too many games, even without having to play Clemson this year. So tough loss for them. But I think this game kind of went how we thought it would. Back and forth to an extent. Tennessee kind of meets everybody's expectations and, sets himself up for a potential East run this year.
But you looked at that schedule too there, Tyler. I mean, like Tennessee now, I feel like has a very good shot to be 3-1 when they play Alabama in the 5th game, and then who knows? I mean, looking at them, they're going to beat an Alabama, Georgia, Florida, somebody. I hope it's not Alabama, but I just think that they're going to have a shot in a game that they're not supposed to have a shot in. They played Alabama as well as anyone last year. And I felt like that was kind of the beginning of this program kind of moving in the right direction. I say that, and I've enjoyed 13 straight years of cigars. But, it's like I also see a program that's starting to make a move.
Well, and that's kind of the thing. You kind of touched on it. Almost every 2 or 3 years, I feel like we're having this talk. Tennessee is not back, but, heading that way. Tennessee is building momentum. This is going to be the year Tennessee doesn't win the East, but is competitive in the East. Mm-hmm. And I mean, that we're at it. It's it's another one of those years. I will say the thing that you talked about, Tennessee having momentum heading into that Alabama game. Tennessee gets Missouri next week. I think that's going to be a great kind of momentum builder for Tennessee. But then Georgia. So I think that's going to be the big stumbling block potentially. If Georgia gets things right, before that one, I think that maybe that game probably tells us a lot about Tennessee. I had lower expectations for Tennessee. I actually picked South Carolina in our pick'em. I think I missed every single game almost. So that's pretty typical for me. I'm terrible against the spread. Vegas has got my number, but I was impressed obviously because I thought South Carolina at home. I thought South Carolina had a chance to win, and I feel like Tennessee, it was close, but Tennessee kind of controlled that game from what I could tell. Obviously, we were kind of busy with what was going on in the other Columbia.
Yeah. We were paying attention to both, but we were kind of locked into the Alabama game. They were both on at the same time. All right, Kellen Mond, it's his 18th year as quarterback at Texas A&M, right? I mean, like, how long has this guy been there? 17-12, they beat Vandy. They're ranked 10th, or at least they were, and you're going, okay, yeah, this is their year. And it's a home game, and I mean, it's a win. But I feel like if there's one coach who's on the hot seat right now, it's got to be Jimbo Fisher, right? I mean, they're paying him a truckload of money to win football games, and here they are struggling again.
I'm so tired of hearing about how Texas A&M is going to take the next step too, and I've been guilty of it. I wanted to say they're going to take the next step this year. I'm totally jumping off that train. I'm just so tired of. I don't care if Kellen Mond's experienced. I don't care if he's got some talent. They're not going to do a damn thing. Like they're just, I'm from Texas. As a small kid, I really kind of even like the Aggies. I'm from Houston. But I swear, the last like 3 years, I thought that Texas A&M was going to do something, and it's just they're not, and it doesn't look like they're going to do something this year. If you're right, I think Jimbo Fisher is on the hot seat. I mean, look, they had him. They basically gave him a plaque, or what did they have him sign? Something that said that congratulations for winning the X national championship. That's going to look really foolish. I don't see that program going the way it's supposed to go.
I mean, I love Nashville. It's a great town, but am I the only one who thought Vanderbilt was, there's a good chance Vanderbilt didn't win a SEC game this year? Like, I thought Vanderbilt might be the worst team in the conference. I was hoping they'd play Arkansas so we could settle that on the field. But, I mean, is that just me? Like, am I the only one who looks at that score and wonders, is A&M any good?
Yeah, I mean, this team is, supposed to be in the top 5, top 10 for most of the year. I mean, they've returned 16 starters. They returned everybody that started last year, this season. I think you got to take this game in and think about kind of what they were trying to do. And obviously, Vanderbilt should have never had any chance in this game. But Kellen Mond, I don't want to be that guy, but he does have the experience, and I think that this team could get better as the season goes on, but a tough test obviously coming against Bama week 2. But this could be just maybe a hiccup and stuff that they didn't have worked out in game 1.
Right, look, you're gonna and let's kind of pivot now and start talking about Alabama getting ready for Texas A&M. That's a 2:30 kickoff at Bryant-Denny Stadium, and 25% capacity. So if you have a ticket for that game, it's like having a golden ticket, right? Because it's tough to get in there. But look, you got to me, you got to be able to stop the run, right? Mond is going to run the ball. Smith and Spiller had 117 yards on 8 carries last week. So I mean, they were able to move the ball. They throw it a lot as well. But honestly, I mean, I don't know. I mean, I just don't know that they're going to be able to have much success against this Alabama defense.
Yeah, I don't think they're going to be able to test the secondary. Alabama has a great front 7 right now, in my opinion. And I think that, if you're going to try to attack them, you're going to go after that secondary, So I just don't see it happening. One thing I saw that Missouri did that kind of worked a little bit is the quick passes on the outside and kind of make the defensive backs make tackles. Because Alabama's defensive backs, I think at times, kind of struggled to bring people down in space. That could be, you could start maybe seeing some screens and stuff like that, especially if you look at the pressure that Alabama can generate. Maybe that opens up the run game some more, but I don't see Texas A&M being able to really move the ball against this Alabama defense.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like I have to recalibrate all my thoughts about A&M because I was expecting this to be a nice early test for the Crimson Tide. And then, I was just looking at the box score against Vanderbilt. Not a game I've had time to watch since it's been played, but I mean, the stats look okay for A&M. I'm not really sure how that game was so close. I'm not. I know that I think Kyle might be watching right now. Kyle, if you are, I'm not with you about Kellen Mond. Kellen Mond seems kind of like a guy to me. Like he's probably the 3rd or 4th or 5th best quarterback in the SEC right now. So I mean, I think Alabama should be able to take care of him. And I just pulled up. I don't know if this is the spread or this is just one of many spreads, but it looks like Alabama's favored by 16.5.
So, it went down half a point. It was at 16.5 now.
So, God.
Where's the smart money going there, Tony?
The smart money is going whichever way I don't pick. Pick the
opposite. And pick the opposite because he's cursed. Yeah, right. I don't know. It's tough. I suck at betting, and it's like, look. What if you took Alabama last game? Well, they should have covered, and they didn't because they put in the backups. If you're looking at 16.5, Alabama will be leading by more than 16.5 at some point in this game. I think it's not going to be a close game. Whether or not Texas A&M kind of gets one back late and becomes like a 14-point game or something like that, that's where, you might lose some money in Vegas. But as far as, the actual game being played, I don't see this one being a 2-score game.
Mm-hmm. Trey?
Yeah, I don't think this game is really going to be close at any point, to be honest. Kellen Mond was only sacked one time against Vanderbilt. I think the pressure is going to be there from the jump, like we saw in Missouri this past weekend. I think Alabama's offense is going to continue to roll. I mean, there's still guys that are trying to continue to prove themselves, and I think this receiving core is just going to continue to dominate. We'll see a little bit more Devontae Smith, I think, maybe a little bit more John Mechie as well. It probably won't be the Jalen Waddle show the whole time again. But I think this can easily be the kind of game where Alabama gets up again and then maybe tries some things. Because I just don't think Texas A&M this year is, maybe a top 10 team. I think this is a talented group, and Kellen Mond is going to be able to run the football pretty well against this defense at times. But I think for the most part, we're going to see the Christian Harris's, the Will Andersons, Dylan Moses get in the backfield and really wreak havoc the entire game.
Well, that'll be good to have Moses back, too, because last year Alabama just had so many problems stopping that running quarterback. It was like an Achilles heel that they never quite figured out. And, I mean, I don't want to hear the name Nix one more time, right, on the run. So, and that's something that Texas A&M, I think, is going to be able to do. I think the other thing you got to remember is that Texas A&M physically should have players that can hang with Alabama. Mm-hmm. I mean, they've gone out and recruited. They've been up there and recruiting. That's some big-time talent. They're going to be ready for this. Sometimes it's better when you have really bad first game because you got the attention of your team, and maybe that's like for Nick Saban. I'm sure he's very focused on the second half of that game against Missouri. But there's not many games that you go out there and Alabama's not ready to play.
Yeah, Mick, you're kind of touching on what I was just thinking of. Like I think the biggest difference this week as opposed to last week against Missouri is, Texas A&M, probably played bad against Vanderbilt, and that probably says more about how A&M played than how Vanderbilt played, I'm guessing. But A&M has the guys that can actually hang with the guys that Alabama's recruited. A&M has recruited about as well as anyone since Jimbo Fisher arrived in College Station. And I think that's the reason that this game still has, I'm more excited for this game. I mean, I was excited for the first game of the season, but I'm more excited for this game. I think this game is going to be more interesting. That going into that Missouri game, we were all talking about, can Alabama cover, 27-point spread? And I think the biggest question was, will Missouri get one late back against the backups? We were never debating, is Alabama actually 28 points better? I think there's at least a debate, is Alabama, 20 points better than A&M? I think you could at least debate it because A&M does have the dudes out there. It is just, are they going to actually play to their full potential? Because I think we've seen Kellen Mond be great for games or series, but I don't, nothing I've seen in the last, 2 years has told me that Kellen Mond is consistently an elite quarterback in this conference.
I'll tell you right now, first team Alabama is 20 points better than first team Texas A&M. I'm not. It's not even a joke. I really just without doubt feel that. If I'm wrong, we'll talk about it next Monday. But
I hope you're right.
Monday night quarterback.
Yeah, right. And we'll do it again next week. I hate to cut you guys off, but Trey's got a swap to go to, and the rest of us, I'm just kidding.
Studying.
Study, right? That's what they call it at Alabama right now. I went there a long time ago. I know what you guys do. I know what you guys are up to. No, just kidding. Look, guys, that's it, man. We went over our allotted time. We're still cranking out, but we got to wrap it up. So I guess I'm going to go around the room. Trey, I'm going to start with you because I know you're the one with the biggest Monday night schedule. Just your final thoughts on whatever you want to talk about. The game, the game balls, or this upcoming game, or the SEC.
Yeah, just again, we talked about it all day on Saturday, but how nice is it to have football back in Alabama now 2 weeks in a row as we get A&M coming in. Just excited to have the team back in town here, and A&M coming in. This is a really quality matchup. The first time we get to see Alabama tested, because like Tony was just talking about, Missouri starters are a lot different than A&M starters, and this is Alabama's first chance to really get a show what they made of this year. I'm excited to see this defense again more than anything else because I think we know what this offense is capable of. What about you, Tyler?
Yeah, so I mean, I guess if there's one thing I kind of want to focus on, something I wrote in the last 2 days that I've gotten some pushback, which I appreciate on the site. I don't think Alabama's going to have a third wide receiver this year. I've gotten some pushback that John Mechie's going to come out and he's going to be a guy when the games are competitive. Watching Saturday, I don't think there's many, if any, secondaries that are going to take away both Devontae Smith and Jalen Waddle at the same time. And I think you just go to whoever they can't take away. And I mean, after what I saw from them, I think if a guy was going to emerge, I think we would have seen a little more in that first game. And I don't blame Mac. If I was Mac Jones, I'd be looking for Jalen Waddle and Devontae Smith. And why even bother looking for somebody else? Because one of those guys is probably open and they might even score. So that's kind of my final thought.
I guess my final thought, the one thing that I would say we didn't talk about yet is does Alabama have a kicking game now? Is that finally over?
This is my favorite kicking game.
Yeah, knock on wood here, but
3 punts.
Alabama hasn't missed a field goal or an extra point in the calendar year. Maybe 2020 is good for something. So I think on top of everything, I think you're seeing Alabama round things out, and I think this year might be the year that Alabama fans don't have to bite their nails during field goals.
I hope you're right. I mean, the last time I didn't – what was the guy's name in 05? Christian something. We called him Money. You guys remember that guy? And all the field goals looked like wobbly ducks, but they seemed to find their ways through. And then Michael Proctor and 92 could kick. And then besides that, I mean, it's like, I'm like this. Like every time the ball's being kicked. I mean, we had J.K. Scott could punt, right? But I hope you're right. Tony, if you're right, I'll be so happy. Look, I'm gonna kind of say the same thing that you said, Trey. It's just great to be back watching football again, and now that I'm excited that the Big Ten's coming back, and I'm glad that the Pac-12's coming back because I felt like they were trying to sabotage football. They were trying to make everybody else not play, and what happened was everybody else is playing now, and I really feel like the SEC is the reason why. I think if the SEC went out, the ACC would have followed. We wouldn't have had college football, and think about how bad fall would be without college football games. So. Kudos to the conference, and it's been just incredible watching football on television again, even with not that many fans in there. I've loved it. So I'm looking forward to another great – Lee Tiffin. That was in the 80s. Another great kicker. But you could count them all like on one hand. It was Christensen. That was the guy in 05. Yeah, I mean, I remember being at – there was a Tennessee game – I know we got to cut it off. I'm going to say one thing though. There was a Tennessee game. Alabama won 6-3, and the guy kicked the game-winning field goal that looked like somebody hit it with a shotgun, but it wobbled through. And I've never heard Brian Denny allow it. All right, look, this was a lot of fun, guys. If you guys enjoyed it, I enjoyed it. Let's do it again next week.
Let's do it.
Yep. All right, Monday Night Quarterback. That does it. On BamaInsider. We're the Rivals Alabama site. Roll Tide, everybody. We'll talk to you again Monday. And, hey, make sure you come back here. We're going to have recruiting tidbits all week. Of course, Kyle will be back on, Andrew Bone, the entire crew. And then I'll talk to you guys again on Friday night, 6 to 8 with the Tailgate Show. So fun. All right. Roll Tide.
All right. See y'all.